Good afternoon, everyone. For today's lesson, we will going to discuss all about the history of the Earth, absolute and relative dating.
So before we proceed to the lesson, let's have an activity. The activity is called Jumbled Letters. Your task is to unscramble the letters to form words that are related to the topic. Each scrambled letters is provided with a definition that will serve as a guide in arranging the letters. Okay, let's start. So number 1, the definition is the scientific study of Earth's physical structure, history, and the processes that have shaped it. Number 2, the definition is not dependent on anything else, exact or definitive in terms of age or position. Number 3, the definition is comparative, indicating the age or position of one object or event in relation to another. Number 4, the definition is the process of determining the age of rocks, fossils, or artifacts. And number 5, the definition is a specific area or part of Earth's surface characterized by certain features, geological processes, or history.
So, before we formally begin our discussion, allow me first to present to you our lesson objectives. So, for today's lesson, we have 3 objectives. These are: describe the different methods, relative and absolute dating, to determine the age of the Earth. Second, explain how relative and absolute dating were used to determine the subdivision of geologic time. And third, describe how the Earth history can be interpreted from the geologic time scale. What is geologic time scale? The age of the Earth is recorded on rocks which contains the remains and traces of plants and animals, which are commonly called as fossils. Rock recorded are then illustrated on a timeline that is called the geologic time scale. This time scale is divided into era, period, and epoch respectively. Subdivision of geologic time scale is based from the significant event on Earth history as interpreted from the rock record. So after learning the different types of rocks, how they circulate the Earth, how they are transported, how they are eroded, it is also important to know how they are used to determine the age of the Earth and the significant event that happened in the past. Po kahalaga yung mga rocks natin. Sila yung nagko-contain ng remains of plants and animals or what we called as fossils, which are used to determine kung gaano nga ba katagal ang organism na yon na nirahan sa Earth. So, ganon kahalaga yung rocks. That's why they are important to be transported para malaman kung ano nga ba yung naging age history of the Earth. Now, how time scaled? Paano nga ba nasabi ng mga scientists na ganitong panahon na develop yung ganyang animals? Or sa ganitong era na buo yung Earth? Paano nga ba in-scaled o pinaghati-hati yung timeline doon sa may geologic time scale? So, to establish the time scale, scientists considered correct succession of rocks, which is achieved through relative and absolute dating. So, what is dating? Or ano nga ba ang dating? So, meron tayong ginagamit na dating or paglalagay ng date doon sa mga rocks in order to determine how long ago they formed. So, dating are divided into 2 techniques, which are the relative and absolute dating, na matatakel or madidiscuss ng mga susunod na reporters.
So I am Rialyn Malibal. So I am going to discuss about relative dating and its rules. So relative dating is based on the principle of superposition. The layers on the bottom are said to be oldest and the layers above are younger. So fossils that are found on the same layers are groups that have lived together. So based on the principle of superposition, ang layer daw na sa ilalim ay sinasabing matanda na at ang layers naman sa ibabaw ay sinasabing mas bata. Relative dating is the process of determining if one rock or geologic event is matanda na or bata pa kesa sa ibang without knowing their specific age, how many years ago that the object was formed. So we determine which things are older or younger based on their relationship. For example, we know from geology that soil layers near the surface of the ground are usually younger than those are deeper down. So we come now to the rules of relative dating. So the first law of relative dating is law of superposition. So younger rocks are on top, older rocks are on the bottom. So as I've said earlier that in the law of superposition, yung younger rocks ay nasa ibabaw at yung older rocks naman ay nasa ilalim. It is one of the principle of geology that used to determine the relative ages of rocks, strata or layers. So this law state that layers of rock are superimposed or laid down on the top of another. The oldest rocks will be on the bottom and the youngest on the top. We come now to the second law, the law of original horizontality. So this law states that the layers of rock deposit from the above, such as sediments and lava flows, are originally laid down. So this law states that layer of sediments are originally deposit horizontally under the action of gravity. So this means that any sloping of layers must be occurred after the layers are formed. So the layers of sediment is originally deposited in horizontal pattern. So the third one is the law of cross-cutting relationship. This states that any geological features that cuts across or disrupt another feature must be younger than the feature that is disrupted. So a cross-cutting relationship is the principle in geology concerning crossing layers. This means that if a dike cuts through a column of sediment. So sinasabi dito na any geological feature that cuts across or sirain ang ibang feature must be younger kesa sa feature na nasira or nakat.
You already know that dating is when scientists date rocks to know how long they are formed. So absolute dating is when scientists could assign specific time units to mineral grains within a rock. So sa absolute dating, nakakapag-assign ng specific time yung mga scientist. For example, kung kailan nabuo yung rock or kung kailan nabuo yung fossil doon sa rock. So tandaan lang natin na sa absolute dating is mayroong specific time. Now we have the types of absolute dating. So there are two methods in absolute dating, which are the radiometric dating and dendrochronology dating. So radiometric dating is a method used to date rock and other object based on the known decay rate of a radioactive isotope. So here in radiometric dating, they use the rate decay of an organism. So, sinasabi kasi na mayroong mga fossils ng plants and animals na nagre-release nung tinatawag natin na radioactive isotope. So, yung decay rate ng radioactive isotope, yun yung minimeasure ng mga scientists to know how old the fossil or kung gaano nakatanda yung fossil na nakita doon sa rocks. For example, is carbon, which is 14 for a short-life radioactive elements. And then, potassium, which is 14, and argon, which is 40 for a long-life radioactive element plus its decay product. So let's come now to dendrochronology dating. So dendrochronology dating is also called three-ring dating. So the scientific discipline concerned with dating and interpreting past events, particularly paleoclimates and climatic trends based on the analysis of three rings. So here in dendrochronology dating, three rings are examined to know the exact date they were formed. So, yung tinatawag natin na angular rings sa mga puno is katulad nung pinapakita dito sa picture. So, di ba kapag kinat natin ang puno, sa stem nun, may makikita tayo na layers of line na nakapalibot. So, yun yung binibilang ng mga scientist para malaman kung gaano nakatagal namuhay yung isang puno. So, sinasabi nila na yung isang pabilog na yun is for 1 year, and then the second one is for second year, and so on. So, here in dendrochronology dating, dinedetermine nila kung gaano katagal namuhay yung isang plants or yung isang puno sa pamamagitan ng pagbibilang ng rings na makikita doon sa stem ng isang puno. So, that's how dendrochronology dating is.
Geologic timescale. It is a system used by scientists to describe the timing and relationships between events in Earth's history. The entire age of the Earth is divided into 4 aeons, which are Hadean Aeon, Archean Aeon, Proterozoic Aeon. Last is the Phanerozoic Aeon. First is the Hadean Aeon. 4.570 billion years ago determines changes in amino acid structure in a specimen to date fossils. Second is the Archean Aeon, 3.850 billion years ago, rise of the single-celled organism that can thrive on methane and ammonia. Third is the Proterozoic Aeon, 2.500 billion years ago. Free oxygen atmosphere increased significantly. First oxygen animals occurred. Fourth is the Phanerozoic Aeon, 540 million years ago. Visible life contains evidence of life forms that we are familiar today. Paleozoic era, early life, is the oldest era of the Phanerozoic Aeon, spanning from about 541 to 252 million years ago. It is characterized by the emergence and diversification of many animal and plant groups, including fish, amphibians, reptiles, and insects. The Paleozoic era is also known for the formation of supercontinent Pangaea, which began to break apart towards the end of the era. Major events in the Paleozoic era include the Cambrian explosion, the evolution of the land plants, the Permian-Triassic extinction event, and the formation of the Appalachian Mountains. Second is the Mesozoic era, or the Middle Life. It is the middle era of the Phanerozoic Aeon, spanning from about 252 to 66 million years ago. It is characterized by the dominance of the reptiles, including dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and marine reptiles. The Mesozoic era is also known for the emergence of flowering plants and the evolution of birds. Major events of the Mesozoic era include the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, the Jurassic-Cretaceous extinction event, and the breakup of Pangaea. Third is the Cenozoic era, or the New Life. Cenozoic era is the most recent era of the Phanerozoic Aeon, spanning from about 66 million years ago to the present day. It is characterized by the diversification of mammals, including primates, and the emergence of modern humans. The Cenozoic era is also known for the formation of the Himalayan mountains and the opening of the Atlantic Ocean. Paleozoic era is the oldest era of the Phanerozoic Aeon. It is divided into 6 periods: the Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and Permian periods. Cambrian period is the first period of the Paleozoic era, spanning from about 541 to 485 million years ago. Cambrian, named after Cambria, Will's seed peak for arthropods, ancestor of insects and crustaceans and chordates. It is characterized by the Cambrian explosion, a rapid diversification of animal life that lead to the emergence of many new phyla. Major events of the Cambrian period include the formation of the supercontinent Gondwana, the evolution of trilobites, and the emergence of the first vertebrates. The Ordovician period is the second period of the Paleozoic era, spanning from about 485 to 443 million years ago. Gave rise trilobites, jellyfish, mollusks, and corals. It is characterized by the diversification of marine life, including the emergence of many new species of brachiopods, bryozoans, and corals. Major events of the Ordovician period include the formation of Lapitus, ocean, the evolution of jellyfish, and the first appearance of land plants.
So we come now to Devonian period. Devonian period happened last 416 million years ago. Devonian, named after Devon, England, kung saan nahanap ang mga fossils na to, showed development of ferns and first trees, animals called tetrapods or first vertebrates to live on land, which has lizard or snake-like structure, and also the spiders. So, yung mga kauna-unang trees and ferns ay namuhay sa mundong ito o sa erang ito. Dito sila lumaki, nag-trade sila at mas dumami yung species. And ito yung tinatawag na era ng mga ferns. Maraming ferns ang makikita sa paligid and dito na din nakita yung kauna-unahang reptiles called as tetrapods. Mukha silang snake na ang katawan nila ay ahas. And dito din nakita yung kauna-unang spiders. So, ganun na pala katagal nag-exist yung spiders. 416 million years ago and until today. Yung different fish from waters, nagtatribe na din sila from water to land. Next, we have Carboniferous period. Happened in the past 359 million years ago. Carboniferous gave rise to conifers, dragonflies, and a widespread of cockroaches. Trilobites evolved to fish, and tetrapods evolved to marine reptiles like lizard and snakes. And archosaurs, the ancestor of crocodiles and dinosaurs. So, ito yung nag-give rise naman from ferns. Nabuhay naman yung tinatawag natin na conifers o yung mga halaman na nagpo-provide ng cones or cone-bearing plants. And also, it gave rise to dragonflies and cockroaches. So, ganun na din pala katagal namuhay yung dragonflies at cockroaches dito sa Earth. And sinasabi dito, yung trilobites daw is nag-evolve into a fish in order to survive. And yung mga tetrapods, yung naging lizard and snakes. And then dito na nagsimula yung rise ng archosaurs, yung mga pinaka-ancestors ng crocodiles and dinosaurs. Kasi yung susunod na period ay sa dinosaurs na. And lastly, we have Permian period. Lastly happened 299 million years ago. Flourished by coral reefs and herbivores, and mass extinction happened. So, dito na nabuo yung coral reefs, mga halamang dagat, and the first herbivores, yung mga kumakain ng halaman. Kasi nga, dahil siguro sa sobrang daming kakompetisyon ng mga animals, ay nag-adapt sila to eat other species like plants. Kasi nga, wild na din yung mga plants noon. So, kailangan nilang masanay na kumain nun. Until then, naging herbivores na sila. And in this period, mass extinction happened. Ending the era of Paleozoic era dahil sa isang mass extinction o malawakang pagkaubos ng species. Natapos ang Paleozoic era, giving birth to another era. So, that's all about the Paleozoic era.
So we come now to the Mesozoic era period. So, Mesozoic era, around 252 million years ago, it means that it is the middle life and this is the time of the dinosaurs. This era includes the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, names that may be familiar to all of you. So, it ended with a massive meteorite impact that caused a mass extinction, wiping out the dinosaurs and up to 80% of life on Earth. So, we come now to the first period of Mesozoic era, which is the Triassic period. So, Triassic gave rise to the reptiles and the first dinosaurs around 251 million years ago. So, what did Earth look like during the Triassic period? So, although the supercontinent Pangaea existed throughout the Triassic, the forces that formed it immediately began to pull it apart. So, Pangaea begins to rotate with different plates rotating in different directions at different rates. The resulting tensions caused a series of rifts into the continent, and the earth sagged down into this rift, forming rift basin. So during the Triassic, these rift basins or rift valleys developed between North America and Europe and between Africa and South America. With continuous separations throughout the Jurassic period, these basins became the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. So other rifts later split of Antarctica, India, and Australia. So what was Earth's climate during the Triassic period? So the climate during much of the Triassic was warm and a dry continental interior and no evidence of ice at the poles. Then what animals were on Earth during the Triassic period? So after the great extinctions at the end of the Permian, many new kinds of animals evolved during the Triassic. So the dominant land animals were reptiles. So as you can see here in the pictures, the first is the dinosaurs. And also there are another animals that were in the Triassic period, which are the marine reptiles, lizard, and tortoise appeared. So mammals appeared during the Triassic, but they remained insignificant until their competitors or the dinosaurs became the extent at the end of the Cretaceous. So crocodiles were abundant. It was in the period that insects attained of complete metamorphosis. So next is the Jurassic. So the rise of the birds and mammals. So around 202 million years ago. So what did Earth look like during the Jurassic period? So the breakup of Pangaea that began in the Triassic continued, and the early Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico appeared as shallow continental seas. So shallow inland seas covered parts of the western United States. What was Earth's climate like during the Jurassic period? So warm tropical greenhouse conditions occurred worldwide. And also, what animals were on the Earth during the Jurassic period? So, as you can see here in the pictures, giant plants-eating dinosaurs roamed the Earth with smaller but vicious carnivores stalking them. So, flying reptiles and the first birds appeared. Creeping about in the undergrowth were tiny mammals no bigger than rats. The shallow oceans contained abundant life from tiny plankton to huge whale-sized marine reptiles. And the last period in Mesozoic era is the
So that's all about our
Cretaceous.
topic, History of
It is
Earth,
known for
Absolute
its
and
iconic
Relative Dating.
dinosaurs such
Thank you
as
for listening and participating.
Ceratops and Pteranodon. Plants become more abundant and fertile, allowing animals to surge in height as well. So it is around the 146 million years ago. So what did Earth look like during the Cretaceous period? So the Atlantic oceans continued to lengthen and widen. so particularly to the south, which split South America from Africa. So India separated and became an island continent. Much of each continent was covered with shallow continental oceans and inland seas. So North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa became a series of islands. So the part of the US between the Rocky Mountains and the Appalachians and the Ozarks was mostly under water. So what was Earth climate like? So during the late Cretaceous, with rising sea levels and separated continents, shallow oceans currents carried warm water farther towards the poles. So this created a mild global climate with ice-free pools. So what animals were on Earth during the Cretaceous period? So as you can see here in the pictures, at least initially, dinosaurs and marine reptiles continued to flourish and many new species appeared. So birds diversified and expanded in numbers, and they may have been the reasons that flying reptiles decreased significantly. There were many new mammals, including the three groups that live today. So due to the appearance of flowering plants, many modern groups of insects appeared and began to diversity, including ants, termites, bees, butterflies, aphids, and grasshopper. So that's all.
Cenozoic era. Cenozoic or recent life was dated back in 66 million years ago until today. During this era, plants and animals look most like on Earth today. Period on Cenozoic era are split into smaller parts known as epochs. Take a note that Cenozoic era is also known as the age of the mammals, because mammals rose into prominence after the extinction of the giant reptiles. In 66 million years ago, the Paleogene period is the first of the three periods in the Cenozoic era. The last mass extinction event in Cretaceous period, the mammals that survived like rodents, small horse, rhinoceros, elephants, dogs, cats, pigs, and large flightless birds began to thrive. During the Paleogene, the continents drifted farther apart, heading towards their modern positions, and oceans widened gaps. Neogene. During the Neogene period, mammals and birds evolved considerably. Most other life forms were relatively unchanged. A notable evolutionary path is that of hominids. Also gave rise to early primates, including early humans, and bovids such as sheep, goat, antelope, and gazelle. Quaternary. The Quaternary period is the third and last of the three periods of the Cenozoic era. You and I are living in this period, which began only in 2.58 million years ago. This is less than 0.1% of all geologic time. A thin layer of sediments deposits during the Quaternary covers much of the Earth's land and surface. During this period, cave lion, saber-toothed cats, bay bears, deer, woolly rhinoceros, and woolly mammoths rose during Quaternary period. Plant life flourished because of extinction of dinosaurs, which include pines, mosses, oaks, grasses, flowering, and edible crops. Shark, whales, and other marine life.